Hello, welcome to Board Deck and Dice. I'm standing in a near split to make myself shorter for the camera. Today I am doing a review of a game called Spires from designer T.C. Petty III. I was first introduced to his games with Xenon Profiteer, which remains one of my favourite deck builders, and then I heard about Viva Java, the dice game, which I have now and I really like. And so when I saw Spires, I was like, I need to find a way to get that in the UK. Big thanks to TC Petty himself, because he actually sent one over for me to review. So it's a review copy I've received, and I will be passing it on to another reviewer at the end of this video. Almost immediately, in fact, via the postal system. Anyway, let's have a look at how it plays, and I'll come back and tell you what I think. Okay, this is Spires. The game comes with a redonkulous massive first player marker, but this is quite important because the draw deck can run out of cards, and then you obviously give the most cards to the first player. The draw deck is massive for 4 players, but it shrinks down for 3 and 2 players. You have a number of cards in here which are spires, which have certain values. You have scrolls, or just flip through. Some spires have icons on for you to collect. There's 3 different types of those. There are... I shouldn't have shuffled this before I did this, should I? Wild spires, which we'll leave out because they're interesting. But they are still a type of spire. Aces, and then scrolls. In the game, each player is given a set of 3 markets, unless a 2-player game, in which case you take out one of the markets. So here we have the main market, and 3 players have market cards. They are all dealt 5 cards with which to bid with, and the bid is done through a trick-taking mechanism. If any of those are scrolls, they are taken back out and shuffled. And a player is given another card. As these scrolls indicate on them, they never go in your hand. So, in a game, we might see a situation like this. Now, each player will secretly choose to bid on one of these markets, depending on what they want. So, there's blue player's bid. Here's the other player's bid, and let's say this top player bids as well. So, they all then reveal market 2, and market... No, they did not bid on market 2. Something went wrong. They bidded on market 3. Because they're the only player in market 3, they take this card and they add it to their tableau. Because there is a competition over this card, these 2 players will now play a card from their hand to attempt to take this card and the 2 cards that are used in the competition and place them in their tableau. So how do you win a card? Well, in essence, it is trick-taking. So anyone who plays the trump, which is the bottommost card on a pile, will win if they play the highest trump card. Otherwise, if no one plays a trump, the highest number wins. An ace, for example, this card is black, and that is the highest card in its colour. So if we had a blue ace, that would be the highest card in blue, and that would win that. However, if it is used for another colour, it is the lowest number. Or why might you want to do that? Well, you might want to ditch someone with colour cards that they don't want because of the scoring. So this card could be used here as a trump for the highest number, but not here because it would be the lowest number. If you bid with a wild card, then it is the same colour as the trump, and obviously that can be beaten by an ace, but it is pretty tall, pretty high. If you win a wild card, you have to place it on your highest spire, so your spire with your most cards in. So that is basically how the trick-taking elements work in the game. There is a more advanced mode you can play, which is indicated on your market cards, which is called undercutting. And that is, if a trump card is played, the colour immediately below it can be used to undercut and win that bid. So on this blue bid here, if the opponent plays a blue and I play a yellow, I'm going to win, but it only works one down, so a purple would not undercut a blue, for example. And obviously if the trump card hasn't been played, there's nothing to undercut, so again the highest number wins. What do you do with these cards when you win them? Well, you are trying to build spires, but you don't want to annoy the king. So a good spire may have 3 cards in it, but a bad one goes under 3. So as the game progresses, it may look more and more like this. Now our blue one is maxed out, but we may still gain more blue cards. At the end of the game, each spire that has 3 or less cards in, each card is worth 5 points. So at the end of the game here, this would be 5 for these 3 and 15 for these, for a total of 30. Each card that goes over the required amount, each spire that goes over 3 becomes worth minus points equal to the amount of cards in it. So this black pile would be worth -4. On top of that, some of the scroll cards allow you to discard cards from your tableau and just gain points. At the end of the game, when all the markets have been bid on and there's no more cards left in the draw deck, you will discard 1 card from the 5 cards in your hand and then play the other 4 to your tableau also. Some of the cards, as we saw, have an icon on them, like this. There are 3 different icons and they are worth different points depending on if you have the majority of those cards in the end scoring. If you have majority, you're going to score 20, 15 or 10 points depending on the type of symbol it is. That is a game of Spires. So Spires is a card game of set collection, trick taking and bidding. And yeah, I would never imagine those 3 things could be combined into anything coherent, but what has been achieved here is really, really good. I've mostly played with 3 to 4 players, although before coming up here to say I've done it, I did quickly do a 2-player game with my non-gaming wife, who enjoyed it and understood it very quickly. The artwork, I really like the art on the cards. I really like the style of the whole thing. There's just this consistent style that goes through it, which a lot of games miss actually, with that kind of consistency all the way through. This sign is the internationally recognised sign language for consistency, by the way. So I really like that going through the whole game. The market and bidding mechanic is really clever. I recommend, if you're a fairly well experienced gamer, that you quickly move on to the advanced mechanic of undercut bids, which are where you can use the colour directly below the trump to beat a trump bid. But if someone hasn't played a trump bid, then it would just go back to the highest number. I think that's a really neat system. And I find with all of TC Petty's games that they're just full of these neat little touches, and this is no different. The game looks like it's going to take longer than it is because you work your way through this big pile of cards, but actually it plays reasonably quickly, and because you're constantly adding cards to your tableau, it's growing at quite a pace. And again, when I read the rules, I was like, how is anyone going to ever keep their spires to just 3 cards? It's just going to be mental. You're going to have loads of cards. But actually, it happens. And in the games I've done best in, I've managed to have at least 4 spires with 2 to 3 cards in, and then 1 or 2 dumping grounds where I can just get rid of cards I don't want. As you play it more, you become more aware of certain strategies, like you might not necessarily want any more cards right now, so you're going to bid for a market that you think someone else is going to go for, and you're going to ditch them with a colour that you know they don't want because they're already up to 3 on that colour. And all sorts of things like that become apparent the more you play it, so it can become quite a sneaky game. It's not take that directly, but it's just nice that you can go, I don't want any more cards. Particularly in this 2-player game, I took all the cards early and suddenly I was in a place where, oh, I have literally lost my ability to choose because I've got too many cards, so I'm going to have to start ditching some of the ones I don't want from my hand, because remember, most of those are going to get played into your tableau as well. on the other player, which was my wife, and that kind of worked to a degree, but I'd made it too vital by hogging all the cards early doors. So it's very clever. It's a good weight filler game in terms of time, but there is enough meat there for more experienced gamers, particularly with the advanced variant. There's also more set collection in those little icons you get, the crowns of swords and the quills. My one complaint for the game would come in at this point, and that is that particularly with I think it's the crowns that are purple, that purple is the same purple as one of the Spires colours, and it's marked on a corner of the card so that you know it also has a symbol on it. I wish they'd made that a different colour, because sometimes in the heat of the moment you look and think that card's a purple rather than the colour that it actually is, particularly when it's in your hand and you're fanning out left to right and it's tucked behind and you can just see that corner. You can assume it's a purple when actually it's another colour. But apart from that, I got very little complaints with this game. I think it does work 3 to 4 players best. But there are concessions in 2 players with less markets, and actually the game I just played with my wife was very competitive, and we ended up bidding on different markets as much as we did on the same market, and actually there was a bit of tactical bidding in that game as well. So a great little package, at the moment quite hard to pick up in the UK, but if you can get hold of a copy, I highly recommend it. Intimidation factor. I'd say a little less than medium on this one. It's not massive. If people know about trick-taking styles, it's going to be easier. The aid cards are really clear and they tell you everything on them, double-sided. I think the scoring is perhaps the hardest thing to grok, particularly because you have the set collection of the actual spires themselves and the set collection of the symbols that may be on them, but not too bad. The rulebook is brilliant, no complaints with the rulebook. I never have had a complaint with the rulebook from this designer, and I have had a lot of fun with this, and most importantly, the people I've played it with have had a lot of fun. So it's a high recommendation from me for Spires. Thanks very much for watching Board, Deck and Dice. I'm going to stop doing the splits and stand up straight. See you next time.